Boxing King Media in association with Boxer. It's Sunday afternoon, it's freezing outside. Dominic, Ingle, thank you for your time. We saw a huge global event go on yesterday, so I thought you'd be just the man to speak to about it. I've got to ask you, Dom, did you pay for the pay-per-view and did you watch Tommy Fury versus KSI?
I did watch it, actually. I've got the zone, so I did watch the fight. I watched the whole event. It was interesting, you know, the audience, the arena was packed. And I think the audience got what they expected.
Good stuff. Before we talk about the fight, let's backtrack a little bit. I just want to speak to you initially about the incident that took place at the media work. I don't know if you saw that or not, where KSI exchanged some words with John Fury. John chucked a bottle at him, which missed basically, and then KSI then spat at him. I don't know if you saw that or not. You know, what would you make of all that?
I did watch it, and I saw John Fury beating the screen down and threatening KSI. And, you know, it's all part of the gamemanship, but there shouldn't be no spitting involved, should there? That's, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. But, you know, after watching that fight with Tommy and him, you know, the next fight, you know what it should be? It should be John Fury against KSI, because I'll tell you what, John Fury will probably knock him out. And that's, I'm not saying that, you know, in jest. I'm saying that in all reality, that after watching him perform against Tommy, John Fury, you know, would probably knock him out.
At this age, still?
Yeah, at that age as well.
To be fair to him, he looked fit. You know, he said he's running 6-7 miles a day, so I'm not sure if that could be put together, but it'd be interesting. And again, before we talk about the fight, I just want to reflect on some comments Carl FROCH said today, and I'll just summarise them for you because I know you've not seen them. He basically said the fight was absolutely fucking diabolical. It was crap. Probably the worst fight I've seen. It's cringy to watch. What are these two guys doing? It's appalling. Everyone agrees how shit it was. And then they've got the audacity at the end to have an argument. You've just had 6 rounds to hit each other and you stood and held each other. And now you want to have a effing argument. I don't think anyone should have won. It should have been a draw. And he then said, I think this needs to be the end of Misfits boxing. I hope that that's the last we ever see of Misfits boxing. Absolutely crap. What do you make of that observation? I'll talk about the fight, but just based on what he said there.
Well, you know, Carl FROCH was an elite level fighter, and I think where he's actually given it credibility by even commenting on it as a elite level fighter, because he's comparing it to what he's doing, and it's nothing like what he did. I think, you know, where the problem could be is that Carl had to work his arse off over the years and have some seriously hard fights to generate 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, million quid for a fight. And if the rumours are true, what these YouTubers are getting paid, especially Tommy Fury, that was getting paid, and KSI, they were getting paid £5 million upwards for a 6-round fight. As a professional boxer who had to do it out the hard way, I could imagine there could be some kind of resentment because they're making money a lot easier than probably he did and a lot of other fighters did. But the thing is, the way Cole boxed and the organisations and, you know, his career was not what I call like a pantomime career. It was a legitimate boxing career. And Misfits boxing should be seen as it is. It's fans coming to watch people whose first line of profession isn't boxing. It's everything else. It's gaming, it's YouTubers, it's entertainment. And what they've got is they've got a massive fan base. And these fans, you know, Tommy Fury's a reality TV star, Love Island, did exceptionally well. And the fans are coming to see him engage in a different activity apart from being on TV. So realistically, Cole should be just viewing it as like a spectator, or, you know, well, fair play to them, they're making money doing something. What's not really proper boxing. It's like 2 kids scrapping in the playground at school, but it's not even as good as that. But if people are entertained by it and they want to pay for it, well, that's fine. You know, let them do that. They're not what they call an hardcore fight audience. But if they want to pay the money and they're turning out and they're packing the place out, the venue out, well, let them do that. Everybody's entitled to the choice and opinions. And like I say, apparently was packed out from when the doors opened to when it finished. And that's entertainment. For me, it's no different to these people who like to watch wrestling. It's no different to that. So, you know, Cole's done his thing in boxing. He's got a tremendous name, and, you know, he had some great fights. But it's totally different to what's happening with the Misfits boxing. So, you know, he maybe should have just laughed a little bit and humoured the whole situation. I said, well, fair play to them. If they can make money doing it that way, fair play to them.
You don't agree with Carl then?
It's not. It's entertainment. That's what it is. It's like me playing chess and you playing tiddlywinks, and we're playing each other. And mine's a serious game, and yours is a kid game, and me getting upset about you being a master at playing tiddlywinks. It's two different kinds of things. I know they're engaging in physical activity, but it's not boxing, is it? In the sense, it's not really, because, you know, they're just going out there. It's like a bit of a grudge match or a bit of a, you know, bragging rights. And it's like sometimes when you see people having pub fights outside and they're drunk and they're throwing shots and they're missing and they're falling over each other. Or you see two women fighting and all they're doing is pulling hair and kicking each other. Like, people stand around because it's got an entertainment value. But it's not proper boxing, and you shouldn't really be upset about that.
I was reading some of the comments, and I think something I came across, somebody said, you know, there's not much difference between this and having an exhibition football match or an exhibition cricket game where celebrities get together for like charity matches, all that kind of stuff. So could it be compared to that? And if it is, why do boxing fans feel like they've got a big hold on boxing and nobody else should be allowed to mess about with boxing?
Well, that's an opinion and a legitimate viewpoint, and you know, fair play to that. But like I said, if people are going to pay money for it, then, you know, just let them get on with it. It's no different to any walk of life what people want to do. The problem is when you get in this game, the difference is you can get hurt, and I believe Salt Pappy got knocked out in a bad way. He lost a load of weight. I remember months and months ago he got in touch with Kid Galahad, and he wanted to come and train here, and he was obviously got a lot of weight on. And I think he wanted to have a diet, and he kind of got onto Barry and wanted to come up here. And I said to him, look, you know, it's not my thing. I'm not even licensed. I can't even train you as a fighter because I've got a professional license. And I even said to Barry that you can't do it. But I said, you can come and use the gym, and I've got people who can train you, but it's going to cost you X amount of money. He didn't want to know. Now, they're making a load of money, but they don't want to pay anybody. And he's lost a load of weight, and he's probably lost it wrong. And the result of that is got knocked out in a bad way. Now, getting knocked out when you don't actually know what you're doing can end up fatal, really. So he did the thing his own way, and he went out there and he got done in. Was it by Slim? Yep. Slimification, who came here, who can actually fight, and got more of an idea than him. But Salt Pappy wasn't looking bad before in his fights when he was a bit heavier, but he's obviously gone and lost the weight wrong. He's probably not rehydrated properly. There's probably a whole load of issues they don't understand they should be dealing with, and the result is somebody's got, you know, hurt.
Well, I'll come back and get a quick review on that fight. Going back to Tommy Fury, KSI, the fight goes on. Tommy had a point took off him for hitting around back of the head, and their argument is that they weren't given any warnings. KSI's argument is that he was hit numerous times around the back of the head. Your observations on that, and then how the fight basically played out?
My dad always used to say, you know, fighting somebody who doesn't know what they're doing is one of the hardest fights you'll ever have. And if you look at Tommy Fury's fights before, when he boxed, you know, against proper opponents, he's you know, it's within the rules, and it's a lot cleaner, a lot better. But when you're having to deal with somebody like KSI who doesn't know what they're doing, everything they're throwing, you don't know where it's coming from. You can't really predict. So that's the worst, man. And now my dad, what he used to do is, he used to get, one time Johnny Nelson boxing Sheffield, and he stunk the place out against Carlos de Leon, and everybody slagged him off. And Johnny said, Brendan, everywhere I go, everybody's shouting at me in the street. So my dad put an article in the Sheffield Star. If anybody thinks, you know, they can get topside Johnny Nelson, he's come down to the gym and spar him. And if anybody can, you know, last a round with him, we'll give him £100. We had a queue outside that door down the road, people lining up to spar Johnny Nelson. Now, a guy came in with his missus, and, you know, he got in, and he was moving around trying to throw shots at Johnny, and Johnny hit him with a body shot, only steady, and the kid went down. And his wife kicked off, you shouldn't have done that, you know, you're a professional fighter. He says, yeah, but he came in here for £100 to get through a round. And they see me on TV, and they think it's an easy job getting in here. But the rest of the queue who were lining up to watch that, do you know what happened after that?
No.
Nobody else got in. They all turned around and walked out of the door because it looks easy, doesn't it? So the hardest person to fight is the man who doesn't know what he's doing. And, you know, Tommy Fury's trying to box within the rules, but KSI's he's jumping around, he's swinging his arms, he's fencing with his left arm and then swinging a backhand. It's absolutely shocking. But to be honest, when he boxed Logan Paul in America, I was there. It was actually quite a good fight. But that was two people who didn't know what they were doing. But it looked a lot better than it did against Tommy Fury. Now, I honestly think that KSI actually got in and thought, well, I'm not fighting Logan Paul who hasn't got a clue. I'm fighting Tommy Fury, who's already beat Jake Paul, and he does know what he's doing. So there's a serious chance here I could actually get hurt. So he kind of didn't really engage, kept it into a brawl, holding, wrestling, all the punching around the back of the head. When you're in a clinch, there's absolutely no need to punch any around the back of the head. It's just not. It's just a foul. It's a straight foul. So, you know, whichever way it was, and maybe they were both as bad as each other, Tommy would have probably tried to do the cleaner work, but you kind of, you actually end up boxing to the level of the kid who's in front of you, really. You know what I mean? Because what else can you do?
Interesting viewpoint, that. So you reckon because of his awkwardness, it was difficult for Tommy to box within himself?
Yeah, because they're so unpredictable. But like I say, in our gym, we used to have people like Errol Graham, Nazim Ahmed, Junior Whitty, Johnny Nelson, all the Kel Brook. We used to get kids coming in who were raw novices. I mean, Dad, you say to them anywhere. So we didn't have open sparring, and these kids would be throwing shots from all angles, off the floor, so unorthodox moves that you get used to it. And you know, we even do that today in this gym. So you get amateurs and, you know, terrible kids just trying to get their act together, and they're just throwing shots all over the place, and you get used to that. But for something like Tommy Fury, he's probably never ever come across that, you know, ever again in his lifetime of boxing. But if you look at back in the day, Manuel Augustus, who used to box, professional fighter, have you ever seen him?
Yeah.
He was
a drunken master.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when he boxed Floyd Mayweather, you could see Floyd thinking this is a difficult task. So, and he knew how to fight as well. He actually beat John Paxton. But, you know, unless you've been up against that type of fight, and if I was in that misfits fighting, what I'd be doing, I'd be sparring these kids who've got no idea, who want to come out and have a street fight, and they're throwing them from all angles and, you know, so unorthodox, and just get used to it.
So, the scorecards, big debate online. KSI feels like he's been robbed. One judge had it a draw, and the other two had it 58-57 to Tommy Fury by 1 round. He had a point took off him as well. Did you agree with them cards?
Yeah, it was probably just about right. You know, it was just about right. It wasn't the best of fights, to be honest, at all. And I think that's because KSI made it that way. And I honestly, genuinely do believe that it probably intimidated him about Tommy being a professional boxer, and he probably thought to himself, you know, if I try and actually box properly here and throw orthodox shots, I'm going to get caught. So he kind of just, you know, muffled his way through it.
It's interesting. I spoke to John Fury post-fight, and he said he wouldn't have been surprised if he went either way because he felt it was that type of fight. I was surprised because he was kind of accepting that if he went the other way, they would have took it.
I suppose it's easy to say that when you've already got the decision and you've won. You know, I think if you'd have maybe asked him that question or anybody before the decision was announced, would they have said the same thing? In hindsight, it's always, well, you know, I can appreciate that, but and in your mind you think, well, at least we got the decision. So, you know, whichever way, I thought Tommy did enough to scrape it, and that's it.
What do you make of the KSI's tactics? We've seen a lot of memes going about online, you know, him jumping up and down, and I think coming in with half a jab, and I think it was a right hand, and then they were like clinching.
Well, if that was under the British Board of Control rules, I'll tell you what would have happened. He'd have got several warnings because the referee would have said, you're not boxing properly. It's unsportsmanlike behaviour type of thing, what you're doing. And he would have said to him, smarten your act up and, you know, tidy up what you're doing. He wouldn't have got away with it with a proper referee. That's my opinion anyway. He might have even got disqualified. So, but it's not professional boxing, is it, by the British Boxing Board of Control?
I think one viewpoint I wanted to get your opinion on is the whole pressure side of things. We spoke about it with Adam Hamid, who made his debut a few weeks ago now. Tommy being the brother of Tyson, we saw again, post-fight interview, got really emotional. He seems quite calm in the build-up, but you know, in the Jake Paul fight and this fight, when he's won, you can see the emotions all come together, and you can suddenly see the amount of pressure he's carrying on his shoulders. I spoke to him post-fight, and he kind of got emotional in that interview as already said. You know, he's just blessed by the fact that he can provide for his family by every fight, etc. But with all that, how do you think he's dealing with the pressure of being Tyson's brother, John's son, with all that media limelight, and the fact that if he loses, the amount of backlash he'd get, it would be unreal? Because KSI is not going to get the backlash that he'd get. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because obviously Tommy set himself out as a professional fighter, whereas KSI can always say, well, I'm just playing at it. But, you know, I don't think it's hard to say, but realistically, you know, Tommy's not Tyson. He's obviously got this image about himself. He's big on TV as well. He's got the crossover effect. So he's exposed on a lot of formats. He's just not in the boxing world. He's on TV, he's a celebrity. So it will affect him a lot more. I mean, I know Tyson's a big name, and Tyson is right up there with the crossover audience. Everybody knows who Tyson is. He's a character. He's not just known in the boxing world. He's actually known outside. He's got his own TV series as well, hasn't he? I think it's on Netflix. So you can understand the pressure Tommy's under. But in those last two fights, what he's had, if the money, what's been reported, is correct, he's made enough money in those last two fights. Never have to worry about looking after his family ever again, does he? And some fighters have to fight for 10 years to get that kind of money. So fair play to him, but I think you've got to see it for what it is. And I think he said afterwards that he wasn't going to do that again. He was going to go back to his normal boxing career. I think.
But then, end of the sentence, he said if Jake Paul wants it and Logan Paul wants it, they can have it.
Well, there you go then. But sometimes you have to put yourself under that kind of pressure. But I think for somebody like me, you know, a boxing trainer, I think a lot of people in the professional world would say, well, there's no point putting yourself under that kind of pressure, because without being disrespectful, you're not actually that good, and you're not on the same level as Tyson, just like Huey Fury is not on the same level as Tyson Fury. So nobody's expecting you to box as good as Tyson. Nobody's expecting you to box as good as these other big names, because he's only been a pro a few years, and he's a relative novice at that. I don't think he actually had any amateur experience either. So the pressure is obviously, you know, being judged by his fan base and you know, the media, because he's in the newspapers. But you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because you just, you know, you're here today and gone tomorrow. You know, that's the way he has to look at it, and kind of putting himself under that kind of pressure is not really necessary, because he's achieved, you know, probably what he needs to really, money-wise, and, you know, even celebrity-wise.
I know one of the things that was made a big deal out of was the fact that the weight cut he had to do, and it's interesting for fans to know that the people that helped him make the weight cut was it's you and your team, Greg Marriott. You guys played a part in that. It's worth mentioning that. I know you work closely with Greg, and am I right in saying it's the same sort of stuff you do diet-wise with the people that, you know, will contact you on Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, Greg Marriott is known as the nutritionist. He's been in boxing a long time, and he came into boxing through this gym, a friend of mine for a long time, and learned all the ins and outs, and he's worked with Kell Brook, Billy Joe Saunders, Tyson Fury. And I think the guy who was working with Tommy actually, I think, was his all-time heaviest when he came into this camp for this fight. And I know there's a lot of penalties involved on the weight loss. If he came in over so much, you know, weight over, for every pound there was a charge on it. And I think they got to the point where they got some nutritionists involved, and I don't think they were happy with the way the weight was going. And I think 2 weeks ago they contacted Greg and said, look, we're in a bit of dire straits here. We're so much over the weight. We should be a lot further in front with the weight cut, and we're not. So he had to kind of go in and do an emergency weight cut. And they probably couldn't have picked anybody better, because, you know, he's got Kell Brook down to 10-7 for Errol Spence after getting him up to 11-6 for Golovkin, very, very safely. So he knows what he's doing. And yeah, so he started off in this gym, and they couldn't have picked a better person. Maybe in the future Tommy will probably work with him, get his weight better. But in the 2-week turnaround, they got a serious amount of weight off him and got him rehydrated up safely, and got him through the fight. So it is kind of what we do with clients. And we always say between us, Greg and myself, that, you know, the average Joe in the street is ordered to deal with a fighter making a weight cut. It's just one of those things.
And as always, if anyone wants to see the magic that Tommy obviously got, contact you on Instagram.
Contact me or Greg through Instagram, yeah.
Good stuff. And just want to lastly touch on Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. It's happening in a couple of weeks' time. What are you expecting? Are you expecting a similar sort of fight, or do you think Francis will, give Tyson some sort of challenge?
Well, Tyson's always going to be better equipped to deal with people like the guys fighting or anybody who doesn't know what they're doing, because he's just that type of fighter. And he can actually kind of fight that way himself if he wants to. He's got so much more experience than Tommy. And I think John Fury said something after watching Mike Tyson training Tyson's opponent, saying if that's all we've got to, if we're looking at him on the pads and that's all he's got, it's not going to be a good fight for him. And John's got an idea, and I don't think they're smart enough to downplay what they can do to kind of lead Tyson into a false sense of security. Tyson is a clever fighter, and I think whether it's down to what Tyson wants to do. If he wants to knock that guy out, he'll knock him out. If he wants to keep him up for the rounds, what is it, 10 round, 12 round, what is it? If it's 10, if Tyson wants to entertain people for 10 rounds, he will. And if he wants to knock him out, he'll knock him out. Because when all's said and done, he's a cage fighter, yeah? The guy, and he can use his hands and his legs. Tyson's only ever going into fights with his arms, so that guy's going in with 50% of what he usually comes into a fight with, and Tyson's going into that fight with 100% of what he's got. So that'd be like saying to Tyson, tie one arm behind your back and fight fight Usyk. That's what it's like saying. So no matter which way you dress it up, there's absolutely no way in a million years, realistically, this kid should be anywhere Tyson or cause him any kind of problems.
Good stuff. Just before we wrap up, I just wanted to let the viewers who are watching, if you want to buy yourself a prestige car at an affordable price, you can hook up with our new partners. I'm going to put the link on top of the YouTube video. Affordable Cars UK, they're based in York, and basically if you want to buy yourself a Mercedes, BM, wherever, top-end cars at affordable prices.
I'm just wondering if I'm being one of your top interviewees, well, I can get one of them free just to drive around for a month, yeah?
I'll contact the owners. I'm sure they can sort you a good deal at Dom.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you very much.